Ha 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 ha! My secret potion is complete. Now I, Major Warlock, will have the power to put that dreaded Major Pineapple away from his precious Switch. It shall be filled with all kinds of terrors and frights from the incredibly spooky games I have downloaded to his console.
When did I download these?
It is that time of year, gamers. Starbucks is finally dropping their pumpkin spice cold brew. It's spooky season. I'm just not that too into terrors and frights. I'm more of a Christmas kind of guy. So this really happened. When I was about 2 years old on Halloween, I saw my dad get his arm fake chopped off by some guy with a chainsaw, and this scared the out of me. I just did it when it went buck 20 in the opposite direction. But I still like to take part in the spooky festivities with movies or painting skulls. You can easily tell which one is mine. But there's a ton of games out there that embrace the season of ghouls, goblins, and monsters. But it seems like a way better idea to play a bunch of spooky games than watch a bunch of spooky movies.
Well, this didn't go how I expected it, but regardless, he won't be able to handle the horrific levels that lie before him in Luigis Mansion 3.
So I gotta be honest, I have no nostalgia for the Luigi's Mansion series at all. I never played the first. I thought Dark Moon was pretty boring when I played it, so I had really low expectations for 3.
I dig it.
Some of these puzzles are a real bitch to solve. I almost filled out an application to be on the short bus. I must have spent an hour on a few of these floors when the answer was right in my face. And you could tell right here, I haven't even played this game since February 2020. I beat Luigi's Mansion 3, and once I beat a game, it's very rare for me to go back and replay it again. But I remember playing this game and having an incredible time. Some of my favorite floors in Luigi's Mansion 3 were the music and the movie floors. Also, the Luigi puzzles, while feeling kind of forced, were so much fun.
Alright guys, and I thought I'd talk about Luigi's Mansion 3 inside an abandoned hotel. It is definitely a top 10 Switch game for
Hey, this is security. What are you doing?
Oh, it's not abandoned.
What? No! That should have cast him aside from his dreadful handheld hybrid. No matter. Ghosts he may not fear, but the undead is something no mere man can tame on their own.
Red Dead Redemption and Undead Nightmare just dropped on the Switch, and I gotta be honest, this is a lazier port than the definitive trilogy remaster.
Yes, he hates it. Throw the Switch right into the cauldron.
But that still doesn't take away the fact that these games are phenomenal.
Oh god.
Or so I've heard. I don't really like Rockstar games, so I never really played these before. One of my childhood buddies would always play Undead Nightmare in front of me, and it looked awesome. It takes the original world and assets of Red Dead 1 and gives it this B-movie twang where a zombie outbreak starts out of nowhere due to a disruption to some sacred Indian grounds. So you gotta return this mask to its original place and stop this Undead Nightmare. So stupid. There's a really fun sense of humor here that juxtaposes the serious tone of Red Dead 1. So it may seem jarring going from one to the other, but it's hard to not have a fun time here. So I barely have an hour in Undead Nightmare, and I gotta say, it's pretty fun. I feel like this is how an actual zombie outbreak would be handled in the 1900s Wild West. It's awesome seeing Blackwater and New Austin under a fresh coat of paint. Fires being set ablaze, graffiti on walls indicating the end times. It's gorgeous. And don't get me wrong, just having Red Dead Redemption and Undead Nightmare as a simple port is a little lazy. But it is the first time that these games are on a Nintendo console, so it can be considered a new game, in a way. So you're probably noticing a common trend where I'm saying, I have no nostalgia for this, or I never played that. And I'm keeping that trend alive right now, again, with Resident Evil 4. Before this, I had only played Resident Evil Revelations on the Wii U, and I liked it, but not enough to beat it. And the same cannot be said about Resident Evil 4. This is a fantastic game. I was playing this during the daytime, and I was still petrified at some of the things happening. So I gotta admit, I think that the Resident Evil lore is really confusing. If you haven't played Resident Evil before, I guess there's this outbreak that turns people into zombies, but they're not really zombies. And if you tell Resident Evil fans that they're zombies, they get mad and say they're not zombies, they're infected or something. They're zombies, all right? They are zombies. What else would you call them? But all that aside, Leon Kennedy absolutely carries this game. The plot is kinda cliche, you gotta save the president's daughter in a foreign country from zombies. Capcom can definitely give us some wildly cliche stories, but only a few of them are actually gonna be good. So I got the RE trilogy with 4, 5, and 6, and dude, I couldn't even make it past 30 minutes of Resident Evil 5. The audio levels were mixed like shit, and I just could not keep playing. Do you think you could stand this video if the audio levels were sounding like this all the fuck? And plus, I don't have friends to play with. But back to my point, Resident Evil 4, while nearly 2 decades old, still holds up exceptionally well. The tank controls add an element to the experience that adds tension. I'm not gonna fully nosedive into this because it is such a remarkable experience, so please, whether the original or the remake, Resident Evil 4 is a must play.
No, no, no! This is all wrong! Ghouls and the living dead have no effect on him! Major Pineapple must be a true Sigma male! Oh, I know a Muscara gamer enough to complain about it on Reddit and to never game again! An online game with no one to play with!
And keeping the trend going with the undead, World War Z is just dead. So we all know that the Left 4 Dead series hasn't gotten a new entry since 2009. There's a hole in everyone's heart wanting a new entry in this series, a new game for a new generation, but there's still thousands of people still playing Left 4 Dead on Steam, and it only took 10 years to get a game like it for a new crowd. But this is based more off of the book, not that forgotten movie with Brad Pitt. And instead of being in a first-person POV, you're in a third-person over the shoulder, and I actually really like this. This game is constantly putting you up against just walls of zombies.
Oh my god!
You're scavenging for weapons, ammo, tools, anything you could get your hands on. And I do really like this game. But I got a bone to pick. So if you're playing this on Steam, you're gonna have a handful of people online to get a match, and that's awesome. But when I was trying to get a match on Xbox Live Game Pass or Nintendo Switch Online, I couldn't find anyone to play a match with to save my ass. Yeah, this is a really fun game, but just know if you're playing this on Switch, you're probably not gonna get an online match going unless you have 3 other people with a copy. But even by yourself, it is a fun time. I can't really wholeheartedly recommend World War Z, but a game that I can wholeheartedly recommend is Everybody get up! I still remember the announcement for Plants vs. Zombies Battle for Neighborville and just being completely floored. I immediately got transported back to my 16-year-old body playing Garden Warfare on my PS4. That feeling of nostalgia gave me so much comfort. I just had to get Battle for Neighborville. I thoroughly enjoyed playing this when it first came out. I said it was better than Splatoon 2, and I still think that's a valid take. There's still weekly challenges going on, there's a solid progression, really unique and fun maps, but what absolutely kills this game for me is that no matter what platform I'm playing on, I have to log into an EA server, and there's no cross-play or cross-progression? What the f***? Warface on Switch is crossplay with PC, PlayStation, Xbox, and there's still a ton more crossplay games on Switch. One of them is even made by EA! And the fact that Knockout City has more players online than Plants vs. Zombies Battle for Neighborville just upsets me. That pisses me off. And even World War Z on Switch, it's not crossplay on that, but it's crossplay on all these other platforms. Like, are you serious, dude? This pisses me off. The main saving grace for Battle for Neighborville is that if you don't have enough players to get an online match going, there's bots to fill up those spots. But same can't be said for World War Z, so just play that one solo offline.
Wonderful. He's been through quite a zombie apocalypse, but now what if he gets to be the zombie, to eat the brains?
Alright, so, killing zombies that are eating people's brains are all and giggles, but what happens when you get to play the zombie, to eat the brains, to giggle, and So there's a cult following for Stubs, and I completely get it. It doesn't have the staying power to be its own unique franchise with spin-offs or anything like that. The Stubs cinematic universe isn't being rebooted anytime soon. It's a cocaine bear. Just a one-off, fun, jolly good time, and that is all that it needs to be. I also love the 50s style that Stubs the zombie goes for. I just love this art style. This era is timeless. And the fact that as a zombie, I could chuck organ grenades or let off a fart bomb is just icing on the cake. And when you eat the brains of cops or dudes that look like they belong in a barbershop quartet, they let out some funny one-liners.
That was my favorite arm.
And the entire plot is just the zombie wants to bang the local billionaire's wife. This is hilarious.
Nothing is working. He's supposed to be the most jumpy and easily frightened person ever. It is impossible. What about a movie tie game? Those are usually dreadful to play.
Alright, let's just go to the single player games because no developer or publisher is putting out any multiplayer games for Switch, even though it has the #1 install base right now. A game about ghouls haunting your city. Or maybe you're seeing a specter in the middle of the night turning on your stove. Maybe opening and closing a door when no one's home. What are you gonna do? Who are you gonna call? Ghostbusters! This basically plays like an over-the-shoulder Luigis Mansion, but to be fair, how else did you expect a Ghostbusters game to play? And you know what? It's pretty damn fun. It's got the classic cast from the movies you like. I said the movies you like. It's literally meant to be Ghostbusters 3. How can you not like this?
Why did I choose games with a sense of humor? No! There must be something that will scare him, make him feel truly isolated, and has a good parkour system too. Yes, Dying Light. This was even scary enough to frighten me when I played it. Let's see how the foolish food deals with this level of isolation.
But even though Ghostbusters and Stubs the Zombie are really fun and lighthearted, Dying Light is something else entirely. Dying Light is grittier than an AMC drama and has more ways to scale buildings than any Assassin's Creed game. I haven't played it in a long time, and Dying Light is harder to get into than getting back into a Zelda game that you haven't played for 6 months. I am completely lost and I have no idea what's going on. I've had an easier time playing Breath of the Wild after not playing for 3 years than playing Dying Light after 8 months. It's definitely an intense game, all things considered, but I was also pretty bad at it too. After playing this for like 10 hours, I didn't get enough tools to even get a gun. All I had were these melee weapons that just break after 6 hits. All right, guys, this game is kind of freaking me out. Let's go play something else now.
Yes, he's finally getting scared. Unfortunately, I've run out of AAA games to give a fright to this worm. Perhaps something from the indie community that isn't a roguelike, which eliminates 90% of the entire catalog. But luckily, I found one.
So, Limbo is kind of old at this point. I remember this on the Xbox Live Arcade Marketplace from the 360. And take it from me, I've never even played this game yet. But you could tell it is oozing atmosphere. This is the kind of game that Tim Burton would be directing. And I couldn't play more for 5 minutes. Don't get me wrong, the setting and the atmosphere absolutely carry Limbo. But I just don't like how this game controls. And I couldn't make it past this area. I've got deadlines.
He's not too bright, is he? Nevertheless, my plan is succeeding. But there needs to be a game where he can play, where he's got even a sliver of competence. He'll be off his Switch for sure.
So we've taken a look at a couple of scary games. Let's go to a spooky game. Weirdly enough, I almost forgot this game even existed. Pumpkin Jack. No, not Jack Skellington. And it's a pretty fun game. It's like medieval, but make it indie. It's a pretty simple game, but has a ton of charm. The writing, the gameplay, the art direction. Everything just reminds me of being in Disneyland.
This is just like playing Pumpkin Jack.
Why isn't he throwing his Switch away? This is preposterous. He must be away from his Switch. If the spooky vibes don't do it, I'll just kidnap him myself.